Hi there, this is Sam McManus, Managing Director of YellowWood Adventures. We're a UK-based tour operator. I'm actually in the Canary Islands, the Spanish Canary Islands at the moment. But I wanted to share with you a presentation that I gave on the Kingdom of Bhutan last month at the Adventure Travel Show in London. I didn't record it then, but the work's been done, and I wanted to get it for you down here because it was following a trip I did in November last year to see the Blackneck Crane Festival. It was the first time I'd visited the country. My team had been there before. It's become a very popular destination for us, especially last year. So I thought I'd better get out there, and to be honest, it absolutely blew me away. It's a most wonderful country, and yeah, let's get started. So I've called this talk "Taming the Thunder Dragon." Bhutan in the local language means thunder dragon, and that refers to the great Himalayan storms that would rip through the country. It's based in the foothills of the Himalaya, and the terrifying sound of thunder and lightning. They would liken to the roar of a dragon. So that's where the country got its name. You can see it's nestled here between what was formerly Tibet, now China, and India. Um, Closely neighbored by Nepal, just separated by a thin strip of actually the Sikkim, India region there. So very much in the foothills of the Himalayas. You can see the map here of the snowy peaks in the north with the Tibetan slash Chinese border. And then this red line here is really important. This is showing the Trans-Bhutan Trail. So it's the old Silk Road that fell into disrepair once sort of modern roads started to be constructed in the country. But actually, in very recent years, a few years ago, due to sustainable tourism practices of the country, the government and the monarchy have used money from tourism to rebuild this trail. And it's a fantastic way of seeing the country on foot. And a lot of our itineraries include walking and hiking along sections of it. And I'll come into that in a bit more detail in a little bit. So talking about the monarchy, this is a kingdom. You can see here the fifth king of Bhutan here with his wife. This is actually taking place in the Highland Festival, which happens every October at the very highest Highland villages in the country. It's very much a small country. Everyone sort of knows everyone. The population of only 750,000 people. And the monarchy is very, very progressive, and it's just it's so hard to put into words. The sort of way they view life, and it was actually the monarchy that came up with the gross domestic happiness statistic, where they just want people to be fulfilled and happy, and just what they've done for the economy in the last 50 years is really quite astounding. If you look at various presentations from the Prime Minister at the United Nations, for example. And so the Buddhism, the religion, and the monarchy are the sort of twin pillars of the country, and you can see that here represented in the flag. So the thunder dragon itself is represented, and then the yellow represents the king, and then the orange is the Tibetist Buddhist color of religion. So you have the two twin pillars of monarchy and religion there. Just going back to what I mentioned about sustainable tourism, just to jump right into that, there is what's known as a sustainable development fee, or SDF. When you come to Bhutan, every tourist pays $100 per night that they stay in the country to the government. We take care of that for you. It's included in the price of our tours. If you're staying for 10 nights, for example, you would pay $1,000 to the government. They would then issue a visa to us, which we would give to you for 10 nights. And the reason they've done this is obviously they want to keep the funding high for tourism that's coming in, but they also don't want to be a victim of its own success, if you like. So if you look at somewhere like Everest Base Camp in Nepal, it's been sort of overrun with tourism, and with that comes some very negative side effects. being such a small country, they want to limit the numbers of tourism but keep the income high. And that's what this sustainable development fee does. And I would also argue it's very beneficial to tourists as well because you're not, you're not overrun. You really do get then space to interact with the local people. They don't feel sort of overly pressured by tourism, and it just creates a very nice balance and harmony. I've paused on this image here called Zaza, which are very miniature shrines that you find all over the country by the side of the road, by rivers, by temples. And this is the local Bhutanese people will put these here to pray for the soul of someone who's passed away, or if someone's sick as well. And it just shows, this practice happens daily of just how deeply religious the country is. So, talking about some of our itineraries, then walking the Trans-Bhutan Trail, you can see here it goes through some of the landing in Paro, the main airport currently at the moment. There is a project that's happening in the south of the country called Gelethu Mindfulness City, which is a brand new city that's been pioneered by the monarchy. The first project there is a new airport to be constructed. It's close to the Indian border in the flatter plains of the south. But that won't come online for a couple of years. So at the moment, everyone flies into Paro, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. I myself flew into Paro with a few YellowWood clients. You can see there, and you have to take one of two national airlines, either Druk Air or Bhutanese Airlines, because only Paro is such a narrow valley. There's only actually 25 qualified pilots in the world who can fly into it. You have to fly around the valley to land. And so whether you're coming from the UK or Europe or the States, you'll need to transfer in one of the nearby airports. Often it's Kathmandu, Delhi, or Bangkok, to then transfer your luggage and yourself onto one of the two local airlines to then fly into Paro. But once you're there, you're immediately in the kingdom. I personally transferred via Kathmandu. I love Nepal, fantastic country. And what struck me on landing in Bhutan was immediately the difference of that sort of happy chaos of Nepal or India, which I was sort of expecting. But really, as soon as I landed, it felt very much more like Japan, actually. I lived in Japan for a year when I was a student. It feels more like a first world country. It's much quieter, it's much cleaner, it's much neater. The attention to detail reminded me of Japan. So on the left here, you can see Paro Zong. A Zong is a fortress which also doubles up as the religious and administrative centers. On the right, that's just someone's house. It looks like a shrine. It's not. It's just someone's house. And most people's houses look like that in Bhutan. The care that people take over their buildings with paintings and carvings, and then their gardens and farmsteads. It's an incredibly neat and beautiful country. And that's, yeah, Parozong lit up at night. You can see it looks absolutely beautiful there. So jumping straight into it, the jewel in the crown is the tiger's nest, which you need to, it's a good 2 hour schlep up to from Paro. It's located on a mountainside just outside of the city. It's probably the most iconic temple of Bhutan. There's me there in a very temple color coordinated jumper. It's a lovely place to go and see. I think what the photos don't do justice to really is the actual setting of it. It really is very high up. There's beautiful waterfalls that you have to cross over bridges to reach it. And it's definitely worth the walk up. There's a cafe halfway up as well where you can stop and have a rest or a cup of coffee with a viewpoint as well. So, you can take your time. I think, if you've got a moderate level of fitness, you'll get up there, and it's definitely worth it for the views as well. So then moving on to Thimphu, which is the capital, not too far from Paro. There's Thimphu Zong, lovely city, very Very quiet. I remember going to have coffee with our local partners there. I was actually there. It coincided with the 70th birthday of the fourth king. He'd actually 20 years previously abdicated and passed the long power to his son, the current fifth king, whilst also creating a government for the first time as well. So he was celebrating his 70th birthday, and which coincided with a 2 week long peace festival. Famous Buddhist monks were flying in from all over the world, and I think they prayed every day for 16 days straight. Modi, the leader of India, flew in. So it was a very busy time in Thimphu, and my local partners were apologizing for the traffic, which looked like a very quiet English village street, to be honest. But so you can imagine how quiet it is most of the time when it isn't this busy. But that was a fantastic experience to have so much going on whilst I was there. So me and the clients, we spent a night in Thimphu, and then headed off in the morning straight up to the Dochula Pass, which has stunning views of the messy white peaks of the Himalaya. I had crystal clear views of Mount Everest flying in, which was quite special as well. On the top of the Dochula Pass, you have 108 stupas, and 108 is a powerful number in Tibetan Buddhism. They and these are memorials for Bhutanese who died. It's quite an interesting story. So the previous king had some issues with immigrants who had come in from India and were sort of settling in the lower plains. And they spent 10 years trying to diplomatically ask them to leave, and they wouldn't, nothing worked, and they were becoming quite violent. So the king and the army went in and mortared some of the positions, and there was loss of life on both sides. But they allowed the Indians to retreat. It was by no means a massacre or anything like that, and they went left and went back over the border. These 108 stupas are in memory of those Bhutanese who fell during this encounter. But what was very interesting when our guide was telling us this story, it was you would imagine in any other country there'd be sort of like victory parades and celebrations. In Bhutan, it was the opposite. The king came back to the capital with the military. There was no rejoicing, and actually everyone went to the monasteries and then asked forgiveness to Lord Buddha because of the death that had been inflicted on both sides. So that gives you a bit of an insight into the mindset of the country. So from the stupas, as I said, you've got views across the foothills of the Himalayas where we walked through. This is where we started our Trans-Bhutan Trail. And then you can see those white peaks in the distance. Here, just a quick snap of our group. This is our Bhutanese guide, Lab, who's a fantastic guy. A beautiful, just very simple farmhouse in the background, but very colorful with prayer flags, very much the norm. It's great to get out into the country because then you get to obviously chat to local people, many of whom speak English, which is really, really caught me off guard. Education has really come forward leaps and bounds in the last decades, and the monarchy and government realized that English is such a useful international language, so it's taught very widely. So that really, yeah, I found very surprising. I was able to chat with so many local people. We reached Punyaka. This zone is absolutely incredibly beautifully placed between two rivers, a male and a female river, which diverge. It can only be reached by bridge. The architecture is absolutely stunning. So I'll just bring this. I don't know if you can see that. Let's bring this down here. And obviously, as I said, these zongs act as administrative centers for the government still today, and also the religion as well. So the zongs they're fortresses, but then they're split in the middle between the government and the religious centers. And then obviously it's full of tourists as well, and then local people going about their business, going to pray at the shrines, going to speak to local government officials. And so inside you have this sort of real hurly-burly of activity. There's sacred bees also then flying up on their hives high up in the rafters. So they're really fun places, and obviously these are where the main festivals take place, for which Bhutan is so famous as well. So there's plenty going on. We stayed at a hotel above Punaka Zong. You can probably just see it behind me there, at the confluence of the two rivers. Very high standard of hotels and guest houses in Bhutan. Very hospitable people, very welcoming. The this guest house we were staying at here was actually run by a very young Bhutanese woman whose family had built the house and then sent their daughter to Thailand to train in tourism, and she had come back. And she was, in her mid-20s, and her parents had basically retired, and she was running the business, which was we thought was really cool, and we spent quite a lot of time chatting to them. Talking about food, I absolutely love the food. It's Bhutanese food is they have sort of like a buffet style where even at home, if they're cooking for their family, they'll make lots and lots of little dishes, and then you'll sort of help yourself from each one. The chili cheese is my absolute favorite, but then just lots of healthy vegetables, um, rice, obviously. More onto that later. Here we actually then we did a like little cooking class, making chili cheese at one of the guest houses as well. Yeah, which was really fun. And you'll see chilies everywhere. I mean, they're absolutely obsessed with them. So they're constantly drying on roofs, hanging off houses, and all the rest of it. And then we also made our own buckwheat noodles as well. You can see here traditional wooden press for noodles, some sort of horribly strong liquor as well. I can't even remember what that was now. Oh yeah, so you're going to see here a lot of the houses are very finely, a lot of ornate carving and painting, and then the phallic symbol as well. You'll see everywhere. So it probably seems like a bit rude or funny for you to see it on the screen here, and it seems odd that people would paint these on their homes. But weirdly, when you're there, they don't seem rude or funny. They just sort of fit into the natural countryside. I think it kind of makes sense with such a small population, 750,000, a huge number of that population are also involved in, the religion. If you're monks, if you then give your life um, to become a monk, you're not going to marry. And so I think they probably want to propagate the population, and probably that has something to do with it. So fertility is, a huge area of focus for them. And so you just kind of get used to it. No other way. I'm nothing else to say on that one. Um, yeah, so we've talked about trekking. Obviously, some people don't like trekking or maybe physically unable to. Everything I'm taking you along. So we're traveling at the moment, east along the country from Paro. We've gone to Thimphu, Ponnaka. So now we're coming along here. You can see on the map, we're coming into sort of more central Bhutan. Everything we do on our hiking trail can be done as a cultural excursion as well. And see our website for full details on that. And so, yeah, that will bring you to Chongsa Zong, which is the largest Zong in the country. And I know that before becoming king, they have to stay here for a minimum of 2 years, because this is sort of like the head of the government, because it's sort of the middle of the spider's nest, if you like, of all the Zongs. Um, and it's absolutely incredible to walk around. As I said, people are going about their daily business, and yeah, there's me taking very seriously all of this beautiful architecture. But yeah, just the situation in the mountains. This is a view from a watchtower just higher up that we climbed up to, with a lovely museum inside that you can look down onto it as well. I'm not sure the photos are doing it justice. Inside, they also have shrines where you can't take photos because they're holy shrines. This is a shrine that's outside of the Zong, so you can take a photo of it. And then, so we came into the Pobjika Valley, and this is where the Blackneck Crane Festival takes place. So this valley floor here, you can see that this large patch of greenery, they actually just leave for the cranes who come from Tibet in the winter where it's too cold, and that they will spend, because this is the foothills of the Himalayas, it's not the sort of snowy peak proper. They will come here, and this is where they pass the winter in the slightly warmer climes. We stayed at a local guest house here overlooking Pobjika Valley. Really, really friendly family who looked after us and cooked for us, and we'd sit around the table on very low mats on the ground. And again, they spoke English. And it was actually two of their children were taking part in the Blackneck Crane Festival. It's really cute. The local kids dress up as cranes and do like a flapping dance. And their mum was super, super proud of them and was kept taking photos and showing us the photos of their kids. It was really sweet. And so, yeah, to come on to festivals, I mean, the festivals, you're looking at thousands of years of living history. They take place at all different times of year. You've got the Paro Festival early in the year. The Blackneck Crane Festival takes place in November. So festival in the local language is Chechu. So you've got the Timpu Chechu and Gangte Chechu festivals. In 2025, they fell into October, but in 2026, but just by the Bhutanese calendar, they will fall into September. You have the Highland Festival, which the king attends every year up in the Highlands, which I mentioned. That's in October every year. So you've got, everything's on our website, but you've got access to the festivals all year round. And then you will have random little local festivals taking place that you can't even plan for. So actually on our way to the Blackneck Crane Festival, we just saw that in a local village there was a small festival taking place. We just stopped and just went in and sat with the audience and watched, and it was super fun. So yeah, I mean the photos tell the whole story. Everyone comes, kids running around, the whole family. This was the local festival we actually attended ourselves, and you can see the dancers here, then making their own music, and the costumes are just absolutely wonderful. This is a photo of the Blackneck Crane Festival itself, which is becoming more and more popular. Interestingly, the Blackneck Crane Festival is a newer festival which they did to raise awareness of the blackneck cranes and the need to preserve endemic species. But it's really just sort of exploded quite quickly into an incredibly popular festival. And locals, tourists alike, absolutely flock to this. The place was heaving. A cute little fat baby there. And yeah, the dancers are super athletic. It's all local men and women. They can jump extremely high. They dance for hours on end. We're all with homemade costumes. Yeah, it's really excellent. So moving along, we continued east to Bumtang, and came up to the Pemacholing nunnery, which some of the older nuns you can see pictured here. There are a lot of young girls who are staying there as well. Really, talking about how progressive Bhutan is as a country. They have a really incredible social welfare system, which is linked to the Buddhist religion as well. So I was speaking with one of the local monks who ran the nunnery, and he was very open. He was saying we have problems in Bhutan like everywhere else. We have problems with alcoholism, with some drugs. Some couples will marry too early and then separate, for example, and then you'll be left with young children who they can't properly raise or don't have access to education. And so these nunneries will actually also then sort of double up as a social welfare system. So at this nunnery, for example, if there's a young girl or girls who come from a broken home or their parents can't support them for any reason, the nunnery will take them in. They will receive a free state education. Yes, they'll be, taught the Buddhist religion, but then they're not forced to become a nun when they become of age in late teens. They like graduating high school. they then can decide if they want to continue as a nun in Buddhism or go and train as an or get a job in some other profession. So it was really interesting to see that that's how they do it, and I think the system works quite well. This is the Bumthang Zong you can see here, beautifully placed. So archery is the national sport of the country, obviously related back to times of war. What's very strange is that the local tradition is for men. You can just see here on the men will stand in front of the target and then dodge out of the way when the arrow comes. I think this probably harkens back to military training to dodge arrows, as crazy as that sounds. Um, but yeah, as you would imagine, there's quite a lot of injuries that happen because of this. Something we've just launched, so our sort of typical trips on 9 or 10 days, but Lab actually, our local guide, is from the Har Valley, which is one of the lesser visited valleys. It's only 2 hours from Paro. You have to go over a 4,000-meter pass to reach it. The Har Valley is only situated at 2,700 meters, but you have the beautiful views of Jomolhari Mountains. So we've created a 2-day optional add-on for trips. Just if you really, most of the Trans-Bhutan Trail and where the Zongs are based for, infrastructure purposes or more in the foothills of Himalayas. But if you want to get up and start to see the messy, snowy peaks, that could be a nice option for you. Similarly, once you start to get up into the highlands, you'll meet the highland people. And then this is such a strange thing that many people hadn't heard of, myself included. This is the cordyceps, which is a parasite that grows on the head of the ghost moth. And it's very, very highly prized in Chinese medicine. You're actually reading that correctly. It's valued at $100,000 per kilogram. And obviously it's known for its aphrodisiac properties. What else would people spend that much money on? And so the king has actually made a law that only the highland nomadic peoples who, are sort of, yak herders, have a very sort of limited options of livelihood. Only they are allowed to collect this because it's obviously a very strong economic source of revenue for them. And so every October, you've got the Highland Festival, which is a real celebration of these Highland yak herding nomadic families and culture. The king and often the prime minister and his family attends without fail every year. It's growing in popularity. There's definitely limited infrastructure, so if you're interested, book early because we're always scrambling to get guest houses or tents. But really, it's you can just see where it's situated. You're right up high, and that's a really wonderful experience. And then, of course, you can see a lot of the local sports, horse racing, archery, have a go at tug of war. Yeah, it's wicked fun. There's a lovely picture of His Majesty the King with one of his young daughters there, and that's actually the Prime Minister on the left also. Another new itinerary which we've launched is, the trekking the Trans-Bhutan Trail is pretty easy, moderate level of fitness. A lot of it's downhill, not at super high altitude. So, a great way of seeing the country. For clients who want something a bit more rough and ready, rugged, bit more altitude, we've launched the Jomolhari Base Camp Trek, which, as you can see from the map here, goes up right to the base camp of Jomolhari and these very high reaching peaks of the Himalaya. Yeah, much more physically challenging trek, but obviously much more rewarding in terms of the views, and a lot of camping is involved with these. Jomolhari is known as the bride of Kangchenjunga, which is the third highest mountain in the world, which sits on the Nepal-Tibet border. And Jomolhari is known as the bride of Kangchenjunga. So there's so much, myth and historical stories going back to and relating to these mountains. So yeah, here's a few snaps from a previous group who've done that trek. And yeah, you're just, you know, you're really away from things here. You're up in the very high Himalaya. So yeah, I hope that gave you a little bit of insight into this fantastic country. It absolutely blew me away. I can't wait to go back. We run group tours all throughout the year. You can see the set departure dates on our website. Everything we do as a group tour can be done on a private, tailor-made basis for groups of friends or families. And yeah, Tashi Dalek, as they say in the local language, we would love to welcome you to Bhutan. Thank you very much.